Today we're continuing on with our NHL Season Preview series. Today we're going west to take a look at the Calgary Flames. We thought we'd see significant changes. We have not. Has this team improved, and where will they finish? We'll discuss the possibilities coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we're taking a season preview here of the Calgary Flames today. We're going to take a look at this team, recap what happened last year, take a look at how this roster has changed, who is left, who's new coming into the team, where do we think they're going to finish, what's their lineup going to look like. We'll get into all that here in just a moment. Now, first up, we want to recap last year and see how things went for these Calgary Flames. Obviously, they were playing in a unique 56-game season in a unique division. Rather than being in the Pacific, they were in the Northern Canadian division, where they finished in 5th place with 55 points. With a record of 26, 27, and 3. Overall, it really wasn't a great year for Calgary. They finished with 156 goals for, which was 20th best, and they allowed 161 for 16th best. So not horrendous numbers, but certainly not great either. The power play was underwhelming at 18.3%, and the penalty killing was decent at 80.2%. So overall, there really wasn't a ton of things that was really, optimistic for this team last year. We also saw partway through the year, Jeff Ward be relieved of his duties. They hired Daryl Sutter, who comes back to the Calgary Flames to try to get this team back on track. They signed him to a longer-term extension. Now, I also want to take a look here at the Flames leaders for last season as well. Obviously, they were led by Johnny Gaudreau. He and Lindholm tied for the team lead with 19 goals. Gaudreau also leads in assists with 30 and also with 49 points. So Johnny Gaudreau leading in all the major offensive statistics. Of course, Lindholm, like I said, tied in goals at 19, had 28 assists for 47 points, so not far off the mark. And Matthew Tkachuk, even though it's fair to say he had a bit of a down year, I really feel he can find another gear, and I really find that he could find another way to be more like himself, really. I just found that there was a big chunk of the year Matthew Tkachuk just to me did not seem like Matthew Tkachuk. Being in the Canadian division, even the Western teams that I don't normally get to see as much because I'm on the East Coast, certainly got to see them a lot more than usual this past year. I got to see a lot of Flames games, a lot of Canucks, Oilers, and to me, Matthew Tkachuk, even though he was productive and had decent stats, just didn't seem to be his usual tough to play against pesky self. So hopefully he can return to that and bring that other element to the team that I think they were really missing here. But Tkachuk finishes with 16 goals, 27 assists, and 43 points. And like I said, we really thought there would be significant changes heading into this offseason after the last number of years with this core group of players either missing the playoffs or failing early in the playoffs. But yet we didn't really see a ton of stuff in that regard. Now, we did see some changes, though, and we'll get into those here next. Let's first take a look at the exits for the Calgary Flames. Which players were with the team last year that are no longer in the mix here? Obviously, first and foremost, the Seattle expansion draft impacted Calgary probably as much or more than any other team in the NHL, where they were able to take Calgary Flames captain Mark Giordano. Now, he was down to 1 year left on his contract. He's in his late 30s, but still a very important piece on that back end. A great leader with this team. Certainly has a great story in how he had to work so hard to get to the NHL, grab a regular spot, and then really made it stay and stick for a long period of time. So he goes to Seattle. That opens a big void. And as much as it hurts for Flames fans and the team, it's really, you can't blame them given the fact that they had no choice really with the rules for expansion. They protected Noah Hanifin, Rasmus Andersson, and Chris Tanev, all much younger and important pieces of this franchise. If they were to lose one of them, it might hurt even more longer term. And I understand management's decision, and you knew this was a real possibility. Going into the offseason here, I was wondering if we might see a trade, and I wonder if they might have explored that, but I guess we'll never know. He ends up going to Seattle. Now, of course, we also saw a few other players depart via free agency, including Derek Ryan and Josh Levo, Nikita Nesterov, who came over from Russia. He actually heads back to play over in the KHL once again. Of course, Louis Domingue, who was primarily a number 3 goaltender for them, he's gone from the organization as well as Joaquin Nordstrom. So nothing really overly significant outside of Mark Giordano. So really, like I said, we expected with the core pieces of Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan, Matthew Tkachuk, Michael Backlund, all these guys have been there quite a while. Not so much Tkachuk, but most of the other guys. You thought there'd be some kind of a shakeup, and it sounds like Flames management wanted to do a shakeup. just was not able to execute and get the job done due to some of these players just not having great value, or the returns just weren't there. Just, it takes two to tango to make a trade, and they just were not able to find the right partner with the right situation where they felt it was going to benefit the team to move ahead. Now, before we take a look at the new players and new additions to this lineup, I do want to pause for a moment and acknowledge one of our channel sponsors, SJSTer Smart Wallets. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by SJSTer. Forbes calls SJSTer the most successful smart wallet brand in the world. They certainly have high quality products, high grade leather. You can put all your cards in your wallet with RFID protection, and you can track it worldwide. That's the best part. You don't have to worry about losing your wallet and not being able to track it down. They have a great selection of products to choose from here, a variety of colors and styles, something to surely help for everyone. As you can see in the demonstration here for the product I have, this is a beautiful packaging, high quality. When you open it up, you get a high quality wallet with lots of slots for your cards. You have yourself a money clip if you want to carry cash on you here as well. And certainly, as you can see, the quality is outstanding. And here you can see the switch where you can help open up your cards. You just one little click and boom, everything fans out right in front of you. Easy to access. Your cards are protected. And here's the back where you have yet another slot. A terrific overall product, and I can't recommend these enough. SJSTer ships worldwide, and you can check out the link down below in the description as well as the pinned comment to buy yours today. So thanks very much for checking out that promotional content. I do greatly appreciate it. If you are interested or want to look further into SJSTer's products, there is a link down below in the pinned comment. Click on that. You can browse their stuff. I certainly highly recommend it. A very high grade, quality leather product with a tracker in it, so you don't have to worry about losing your wallet. Losing your wallet and your ID is something that can be a major impact and disruption to your life. So I certainly recommend you check that out. Now, looking at the new additions to the Calgary Flames, they did do a few things through free agency, but like the players that exited the team, and there's really nothing here that's overly drastic. The biggest move they made was signing Blake Coleman in free agency, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champion from the Tampa Bay Lightning, signs a long-term big money deal. So he comes over, will be a good addition. I would imagine with the money they're paying him, he will play a top six role. Of course, in Tampa, he was mostly a third-line player. Before that, in New Jersey, he did see top 6 minutes, so we'll see what kind of role Coleman can play, but certainly a piece that they're really hoping that can help out a lot. I mean, not only can he be a decent offensive player, but he can play on the penalty kill. He can play more of a shutdown role, good defensive forward as well, and just kind of be a good, solid 200-foot player. They also added Tyler Pitlick, who comes over from Arizona, as well as Brad Richardson, also last played in Arizona. Of course, Richardson's a guy quite familiar with Daryl Sutter, time in LA, as is the other player they brought in, Trevor Lewis, who last played with Winnipeg, but another Sutter guy from his days with the LA Kings. So obviously Daryl Sutter bringing in some veteran players that he trusts, that knows how to play the right way and has that winning atmosphere from their time winning Stanley Cup championships with the Los Angeles Kings. So certainly no big surprise there. The coaching influence is certainly well seen. Of course, they also traded for Nikita Zadorov, which to me, I guess, is their kind of attempt at replacing Mark Giordano. But ultimately, you get Giordano, who is capable of playing top pair defense minutes and being capable of playing that role, where Zadorov, to me, is on most teams, is a third pair guy. So I'm not sure really how that's going to work out. I don't know that their decor is really stronger with Zadorov in it. They also brought in veteran Erik Gudbranson. They brought back Michael Stone. I guess he's not really a new addition, but we wondered what would happen to them. But Gudbranson and Stone both got announced pretty much the same time as coming in. Gudbranson got more money. And of course, they brought in Danny Vladar from Boston to be the new backup goaltender to Jacob Markstrom. Of course, they traded David Riddick at the deadline to the Leafs, and Louis Domingue departed, so there was an opening in that regard. They were able to get themselves a good young goaltender from the Bruins, who obviously signed Linus Ullmark and created an opportunity for Vladar to become, a trade piece, which they ended up doing here with the Calgary Flames. Now let's take a look here at dailyfaceoff.com and look at how they have their lineup projections set up here so far and what they anticipate to be the opening night lineup here for the Calgary Flames. They have the first line being centered by Elias Lindholm, flanked by Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk. That very well could be a good opening line. Those three players together should be good and be able to produce. They have line two of being Michael Backlund with Blake Coleman and Andrew Mangiapane. I think Mangiapane is going to take another step this year. I know last year you could say was a bit of a breakout for him, but I think he's going to continue that and break out further. This guy's really determined, plays hard, has a lot of talent, and somebody I certainly have a lot of faith in and think he's fun to watch. Coleman will be a nice addition to that line. So you throw Backlund in there too, and that could be a line that can play against a lot of the other team's top offensive players in an attempt to shut them down, but at the same time being able to produce offense on the transition. On line 3, they have Sean Monahan. Now, of course, Monahan had a down year. He's been declining for a little bit. Had a fairly substantial surgery with a hip surgery this past offseason, which certainly decreased his trade value, I'm sure. They have him playing with Dylan Dubé and Pitlick on the other side. And of course, they have line 4 being Trevor Lewis at center with Milan Lucic and Brett Ritchie. So a line that you can also, again, put out on the PK, play some physical hockey, and hopefully be responsible defensively. So as far as what I think they're going to accomplish this year, to be honest, I do have a lot of concerns. I honestly don't think you could look at this team on paper and say they're any better. In fact, you could probably make a statement and say they're, if anything, about the same, maybe a little bit worse with the loss of Mark Giordano. I mean, adding Blake Coleman to the forward group is a nice addition. That's a nice add. But outside of that, I don't really see any way that they're going to be any better this year. Now, there is a possibility you could see players bounce back, like if Monahan recovers well from his surgery and can get back to being a 25 to 30 goal scorer, well, that's going to be a huge help. If Matthew Tkachuk can go back to playing the way he's capable of and be a 70-point player like he did a couple years ago, that would be a huge help. And of course, if Johnny Gaudreau continued to be a top offensive player and produce if they get into the playoffs, could also be a huge help. There's just a lot of X factors here, but they have an excellent goaltender in Jacob Markstrom. Except their blue line to me is okay, but not great. Adding guys like Eric Gudbranson and Nikita Zadorov just don't make it better. You lose their captain Giordano. To me, your blue line is not better. That's 100% my biggest concern for this team. I do really like Danny Vladar as a backup goaltender, so I think they're pretty strong between the pipes. But up front, secondary scoring, again, could be an issue. But if they have guys like Mangiapane continue to take steps, Dylan Dubé, if Monahan can bounce back, they have to have a lot of things go right here. And the other thing is that they're not really in a super competitive division. In my opinion, the Pacific Division will be the weakest one. So they do have a shot at getting into the playoffs. I think the strongest teams in their division will be Vegas and Edmonton. After that, it's a little bit open, so I kind of see them competing with teams like the Vancouver Canucks and maybe to some degree the Los Angeles Kings for those 3, 4, 5 spots. So if everything goes well, they could possibly be a top 3 team in this division and get into the playoffs. But given Brad Treliving's, a failed attempt here at really making changes to the core, I don't know if I really have any confidence in them getting playoff success. They've proven time and time again that they haven't been able to get it done. So what makes me think it's going to be any different this year? That's my biggest concern. Now, even listening to other local reporters for the Flames that cover them closely, it's a lot of the same types of concerns. Obviously, the word was that Trey Living was trying really hard to try to change up the core and make some trades, and there just really wasn't any value in the players he was trying to move. Obviously, Johnny Gaudreau would be considered a 1-year rental, so there's not a lot of term, so the value there probably wouldn't be where they wanted it to be. Sean Monahan coming off a down year and like I said, a big surgery, probably not much interest there. They want to see him bounce back first and see how he can play. So unless you're trading Matthew Tkachuk or Elias Lindholm, which I'm sure they would not really want to do, you're not going to get great value and great return. That does create some concerns for me. So again, I think we're going to have a situation where the Flames can be okay. I think they have a shot at being a playoff team. I just don't have the confidence right now that they can do damage in the playoffs. But we will see how things go. They're going to have to be able to take their points when they can get them, when they play teams like the Sharks and the Ducks and the other teams that are in the Western Conference, like the Coyotes, that are not expected to be overly good. They need to make sure they win those games. They need some players to bounce back. And if everything falls into place, they should be able to grab a top 3 spot, maybe even end up in 4th, though, because the Vancouver's another team. To me, they've done more to get better. And I like the Vancouver offseason more than the Calgary offseason. At least at this point, they still have to get Hughes and Pettersson signed, and that's a big question mark. We don't know. If they're not there, that changes things a lot too, right? So they're going to have their hands full, but the Flames, certainly I would expect if things don't go well, we will see more moves throughout this season. But let me know what you think of the Calgary Flames. Do you think they can be a playoff team? Do you think they're any better this year than last year? Let me know your thoughts down below. We will discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.